wondering, Christine, did you kill 7 people? What the f***'s up with your face? No, I didn't! As soon as I drew one, I started to second guess this decision. But there was no going back. Because I'm not redoing my whole maked up face. They're tears! Tears! Do you see it? Can you see it now? Today, I thought it'd be fun to go through the books that has made me sob the hardest. I don't know if you're a book crier. Not all of us are book criers. I am. I'm one of those people that if I'm extremely angry, I start to cry. If I'm extremely frustrated, I start to cry. If I'm extremely happy, I start to cry. So I've cried reading a lot of things. Like, these are not like, oh, I shed a tear. These are like, I was hysterical, emotion-filled mess. I keep my emotions at the surface. Like an actor. So let's get down to it. I'm gonna start with the least sobby and make my way to the most sobby. But number 8 on my list might be pretty surprising. Matched by Ali Condi. And I know what you're thinking, like, Christine, you didn't even really like that series. But if you remember, if you watch my Matched book talk, I really liked Matched. A lot of people didn't like this series at all. They're like, Matched was boring and I did not think Matched was boring. I think there were a lot of underlying themes and ideas that were really frightening and scary. What really upset me when reading this book was the absence of art and the absence of pop culture and the absence of really stories in general, because I'm so passionate about storytelling. You gradually see how much they have destroyed, how much of our history they've destroyed. I don't know if you watched that trailer for Monument Men, but they described it perfectly. When you destroy the art of a generation, that generation no longer really exists in history. It's like it didn't even happen, because there's nothing to show for it. No stories, no poetry, no pictures, no art. Then what even happened? What was the point? What did we learn from that? What can we look back on? Nothing. And that is what we slowly begin to realize as you're reading Matched, that all this has been destroyed. And then slowly she discovers writing, like the written word is gone. And then there's all this backstory with how her grandpa was one of the people trying to save it, and there's like little pieces of poetry that he saved, and it just really, really touched me and scared me in ways. Tears, tears, tears. It wasn't sobbing, it was just like a continuous tear up. If you're more interested in this book and you might want to read it, you might want to check out my book talk, because whilst I think the rest of the series was not good, this book I think was worth the read. The Host by Miss Stephanie Meyer. If you read The Host, you probably cried. I think you cried. There was a lot of emotional crying, especially toward the end. I read it twice, and I remember the second time, my mom found me crying in my bed, and she was like, Christine, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm reading The Host! You really have to read it! It's so good! And she was like, why are you crying? And obviously, I just said, it gives you all the feels and the thoughts, and
the end was like Wanda and Anne and Melanie and just, it was so, and then, oh.
This wasn't an extreme sob session either. This was a continuous cry, like happy cry and sad cry. You know, we're not at hysterics level yet. Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. We all know why. If you don't know why, I'm gonna spoil you right now, Dumbledore dies! Sorry, that's my punishment to you for not watching or reading in the last 12 years. Wow, it's more than 12. I remember reading Dumbledore's death down the shore, locked away in a room while my family was hanging outside, and my dad was like, stop reading and come outside! And I'm like, shut up, I'm reading the 6th Bible, leave me alone! I couldn't comprehend how he could be killed off, because Harry was already so alone. Dumbledore was like my favorite character.
I loved him so much.
Again, this wasn't a sob fest like my other sob fest coming. It was like a continuous cry of sadness. Number 5, I have Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Now, a lot of people I've heard didn't really feel that much when they were reading Mockingjay, except for annoyance and anger at Suzanne Collins for smushing a 2-book story into 300 pages. But I, reading it the day it came out, wasn't paying attention to any smushing of story. I was just sucking it in as fast as I could. I didn't really cry when Finnick died, because that was super quick and I was sad, but we moved past it so fast. What did make me hysterical was Prim. That was like, I'm picturing Olivia being blown up and dying, and I could not handle it. I was so emotional. I was sitting on the floor in my room, just tears streaming down my cheeks whilst hysterical on the floor. I remember Olivia opening, we had rooms connected by a bathroom, and she opened the bathroom to my room and was like, "What's wrong with you, you loser?" Number 4 on my list is The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. I'm not gonna full-blown spoil you, but these are mild spoilers. Just saying that there's an end with tears is a mild spoiler, and I'm sorry. You should read The Darkest Minds, it's fantastic. I was not expecting what happened at the end. I was so attached to these characters. Lots of things happened at the end of this book, and I was in the basement sobbing, just hysterical. I was so distraught. It was so good. Number 3 on my list is none other than Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. I will forever remember reading this book. This book came out during Playlist Weekend. And if you don't know Playlist, it's a YouTube conference in Florida. So I read the book on the plane, and I get to like halfway, and I don't know if you guys remember the halfway point of this book, but hot damn, it's emotional. And I'm sitting on the plane, I have a middle seat, and I'm in hysterics. Like, I have so many tears, and I'm trying not to like sob, you know, like make those noises, but the tears are streaming like rivers down my face. They're building in my nose. You know how you get a runny nose when you cry? And I'm sitting there like, okay, I can't cry this much because my nose is gonna get stuffed up and I'm not gonna be able to breathe, and I'm on a plane, so I'm gonna get a huge headache. But I can't stop it. Jem and Will and like The Thing, you know, the things. You guys have to read this if you haven't read it. There's strangers on both sides of me, and I start to like have to go like this because I can't breathe. My nose is running and it starts to drip. I'm ignoring it because it's clear, so I'm like, you can't really see it. But I have no tissues. I'm on a plane. I didn't get a drink because I don't want to have to pee. So I have no napkins. I'm looking around, I have no napkins. And it gets to the point where it's like, oh, it's so nasty. It's like all down my face. Like, not just tears, but like snot. And I'm like, what do I do now? I can't stop reading. And it doesn't even matter if I stop reading because I'm already messed up. So I take my sweatshirt, the inside of my sweatshirt. I use it as a tissue and blow my nose. So nasty. And I'm just sitting here being like, I am being judged so hard right now by the two strangers next to me. It's like, why is this girl sobbing in the seat next to me? Did she just break up with her boyfriend? Like, did a family member die? No, it's just like these fictional characters are trapped in like the most devastating love triangle I've ever read. That wasn't even the end of the book. Okay, that was the middle. By the end of the book, I didn't get to finish it on that flight, and I saved the end for when I got back home the next week. And the end, I was just in the basement like, no one talk to me! No one talk to me! Number 2 on my list is probably surprising, and that's gonna be Beautiful Chaos by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. I'm not a huge fan of this series overall. It came on slow, like I didn't realize I didn't really like it until this end of this book. But that didn't stop me from having the most hysterical sob fest I have ever had in my entire life up until reading this book. I couldn't do the book talk without crying. If you watch my book talk for Beautiful Chaos, not a lot of people got to Beautiful Chaos because I understand, because Beautiful Darkness was really bad. I don't know, I felt like these books, the world building was kind of all over the place and they never really tied together right and things just didn't make sense like I wanted them to. But the end of this book, I'm just sitting at the table at like 2:30 in the morning and I'm hysterics. Like, I can't breathe. Hysterics at the table, listening to Florence and the Machine while I read like the last 50 pages of this book. I'm gonna spoil it right now, so mute the stream if you don't want to hear, but if you're never gonna read it and you want to hear, let me tell you what happens. You probably saw the Beautiful Creatures movie, but you know the characters. Ethan, by book 3, it seems like he has to sacrifice himself to save Lena. Like, he has to die. I forget why. It's some weird, obscure reason that was never foreshadowed, and it doesn't make any sense. But He has to die, and he knows he has to do it, but he doesn't tell anyone that he's gonna do it. He goes to say his goodbyes to, like, everyone he knows, and the conversations are just so beautifully sad and heartbreaking, and that's when it starts. He says goodbye to his best friend, Link or something, yeah, and that one was horribly sad. And then he goes to say goodbye to Lena, and then he goes to say goodbye to, who's the woman that the witch woman, voodoo woman, oh my god, I don't remember their names, but and then after all that, at night, he sneaks out of the house and he climbs to the top of the water tower in their town to throw himself off of it, right? And Ethan is telling the story. He's the narrator. The voodoo woman is there. He's like, no, don't, Ethan, stop. Don't do it, like my baby. And he just throws him off. He throws himself off the tower. Okay, and that's how it ends. He's falling from the tower, and then the book ends. I was so emotionally traumatized, and that was the first time I've ever read something where the narrator dies. I was just a wreck, an emotional wreck for a series I live and care about, and I give kudos for that. Is this on anyone else's list? And number 1 on my list, it could probably be guessed by now because you haven't seen it come up yet. Beautiful Chaos just took a leap off my shelf. Committed suicide for the greater good. Sorry, I'm not gonna pick you up. Ooh. It's gonna be Allegiant by Miss Veronica Roth. And if you haven't read Allegiant yet and you haven't been spoiled yet, I applaud you. I applaud you, and I will tell you when to mute this stream for spoilers, okay? I have never... This topped Beautiful Chaos in sobbing levels. I literally could not breathe. I could not breathe to the point where I had to get up and chug a glass of water. I was so congested from crying, and I couldn't see. I was just like all blurred up reading, and if you didn't cry in Allegiant, I don't know what's wrong with you, okay? Unless you were spoiled. But even if you were spoiled, how could you not cry? If you don't want to be spoiled, you can mute right now, because I'm about to spoil the end of Allegiant. Triss dies. So, this is the second time that I've read a book where the main narrator dies. It was the same feeling, except 100 times worse, because Triss was like my hero. Such a role model in terms of her bravery and her selflessness, and just everything, all her qualities were so admirable, and thinking about it right now, stressing me out. I'm stressed out. New Moon might be number 9 on this list. I just remember being so sad, but mostly angry when I was reading that. I remember I put down the book and did not read it for like a good 24 hours. I couldn't wait that long, but like 24 hours, I was mad. I was like, no, 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 you didn't take Edward away! But then I was okay, it was cool, whatever, you know. January, February, March. That was brutal. Those blank pages with the months on them were brutal! They get me every time. I would love to know what your top tearjerker books are. Thanks for watching. I'm Christine. I'll talk to you next time. Bye!